Cars have progressed immensely over the years, leading to modern engines being both more powerful and more efficient than their older counterpart engines. But why has this happened, and why should you care? Well, first off, I'd like to say that I care about cars. I love to research and learn new things about them, and when I don't truly understand something, I love to ask or research a little harder, and I love everything about them, so I think I'm more than qualified to be able to give this presentation here to you. So, there are three main reasons why modern cars are so much more efficient and powerful than older engines. It's because of VVT, or variable valve timing, direct injection, and forced induction. So to start off, we're going to talk about VVT, or variable valve timing. We're just going to call it VVT for the rest of this presentation. So everyone knows engines need air and fuel to run, but how does the air actually get into the engine? Well, these valves right here. So the valve will lift up and let air in, but what actually actuates the valve? The valve will be actuated by what's called a camshaft, which runs off of a timing chain. But valves need to be efficient to work. You don't always want the same amount of air going in at different RPMs. So this is kind of a normal valve timing. There's four strokes inside of an engine, and you want the exhaust and the inlet in between the 90 and the 270 rotation. So our first form of VVT that we're going to talk about, and this changes how much the valve opens during timing, is called VTEC, which was created by Honda. So what VTEC does is there's three different stages inside of the camshaft. So there's stage one, which is this really small camshaft, and these different rocker arms activate to actually open the valves. And then in stage two, you get a little bit more air, because you need more air at higher RPMs, but not at lower RPMs. And then at stage three, you're getting the most air. And this lets a 1.6 liter engine make an extra 30 horsepower compared to if it didn't have VTEC, because it can get more air in the top end and maintain the same gas mileage in the lower end. And then the other one is called cam phasing. So cam phasing is when they just kind of shift the camshaft over to kind of merge the two strokes. So cam phasing is cheaper and a bit more reliable than VTEC, but it's also not as good. It's not as efficient. It doesn't create as much power. But this is kind of what a stroke of what cam phasing can do inside of the engine. So next, we're going to talk about carburetors versus fuel injection. So carbs were created in 1826 by Samuel Moni, and they were eventually patented by Carl Benz, the Benz from Mercedes-Benz. And they've been used in engines for a while until basically the 70s and the 80s, when they were sort of phased out for a better method, which we'll talk about later. But no modern car engines have a carburetor inside. But how does it work? So basically, a carburetor has what's called a Venturi tunnel, which lets air in, and then fuel is mixed in to create what's called a stoichiometric mixture, which is a perfect mixture of air and fuel, which allows it to combust fully and to the best of its potential. And the carburetor is controlled with what's called a choke valve and a needle valve, which let in different amounts of air and fuel. But what is a direct injection, and why is it better? Well, carburetor, they have to go through the air intake, through the valves. Direct injection, as you can see, they completely skip the valves. With the carburetor, the air and the fuel would come straight through the valve. The injection goes directly into the cylinder, so less is caught up inside of the intake and stuff, which means it's more efficient. And these can be better controlled with a computer. Computers can monitor the exact amount of fuel with direct injection. And their final form is called forced induction. So engines obviously need air to breathe. So what do you need to make them go faster? More air. And these older engines, they used to struggle with getting air in. So a man named Rudolf Diesel, the guy who created the diesel engine, created the first mechanical supercharger in 1896. And this is from so what a belt-driven supercharger does is it takes the belt, which runs your alternator and AC and all your power, and it hooks that up to what's called the supercharger, basically. And that connects to two rotors, which spin basically with the power of your engine, and suck in air, which is called boost. Air pressure is boost. And it basically makes a more powerful engine. And this is great because at low RPMs, it's always spinning with the engine. So you get great power at low RPMs, but at high RPMs, it starts to take horsepower from your engine. So that's where our friend the turbocharger comes in. This runs off of exhaust gases. So the faster you're going, the faster it spins. The exhaust gases flow through this little snail-looking thing, and they spin a turbine, which sucks in air to create a more powerful and higher levels of boost. But it doesn't work at low RPMs because there's not enough exhaust gases coming out of the engine. So this works great at low RPMs, this works great at high RPMs. And there is ways to combine the two together, but that's basically what you need to know about each of them. So overall, we've learned about VVT, variable valve timing, direct injection, carburetors, and superchargers and turbochargers. These all combine together to create more powerful engines. And what I hope you learned from this is that engines are important, and we drive cars every day, so I hope maybe you'll take the time to learn a bit more about what powers your car, because there's a lot more new technologies coming. Thank you for listening. My sources are Lou and Day at the Auto Peon, Austin Community College, and Garth Mason from AET Turbos. And this is my lovely audience. Thank you for bearing through this.